just
Good
sitting
evening.
here right now when they do the show and tell.
And then you'll
But
come
do you
up.
want him to, yeah, and then we'll all come up.
We're good? Go ahead. Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the hearing on the superintendent's proposed operating budget for fiscal year 25. This evening, we have kind of the annual public hearing that we typically hold at this stage in the budget process, and then immediately following the public speakers as part of the hearing, the board will convene here in where we are at the tables for a work session on the superintendent's proposed budget. And so, just as a reminder for everybody, where we are in the budgetary process is that we're in that stage between where the superintendent has made a budget proposal to the Board of Ed, but the Board of Ed has yet to act. They'll do so at their next business meeting, and I think it's on Valentine's Day, February 14, to adopt the budget request that they then submit as the Board of Ed to the county. So we're in that in-between period, and as a result, the Board of Ed members and the ex officio member from the Board of Commissioners are in the audience for the hearing, and then they'll convene here in a second. So typically, we'll have, and we'll do that this evening, we'll have our CFO, Mr. Burke, do a brief presentation on the overall budget picture. It's very similar to what's been presented previously at work sessions and meetings, so we'll ask Mr. Burke to just move through that quickly. Then we'll call there's only two folks who have signed up for public comment. You'll come to the podium when called, and Ms. Bowers will have the clock for the allotted amount of time for public comments. And then as soon as that's over, we'll hold the work session. So Mr. Burke, if you would go to the podium and do the brief update.
Good evening. As Mr. O'Neill mentioned, I'll move quickly through a presentation which is similar to what we've presented in the January board meeting and in the work session prior. This year, shown as net change from the current fiscal year 24, we've identified about $27.4 million in additional revenues to balance the budget for fiscal year 25. I'll go through each of those in a little more detail. The one update we have is the state revenue, as we had displayed there, $7.8 million. We received the governor's budget was released last week or so to the General Assembly, and I think we had mentioned we've been working as a group with MSDE to come up with some way to estimate state revenues fairly accurately, and so we're pretty pleased that we came in within about $100,000. It was a little lower, so about $7.7 million in state revenues combined, new money for fiscal year 25 versus the estimate of 7.8 that we had built on. So we will work through balancing that later in the budget process. We've talked about before some of the things driving it, some modest enrollment increase, and that again this year represents a fairly small state increase in per pupil funding. So our budget includes county requested revenue increase of $17.9 million. We've mentioned where the county stands relative to that, and they'll of course begin their process over the next several weeks and months to work through our request, and I'm sure we'll have opportunity to come before them and make that ask. The areas driving some of the cost increases for the year, we've walked through them in a bit of detail in the past. The inflationary, general operating issues, the blueprint relating primarily to dual enrollment and CCR, the special ed increase there, a modest increase in transportation, the offset of prior year use of fund balance, that's sort of a net number there, and technology primarily driven by the student devices and beginning the replacement cycles there, and obviously the blueprint, career ladder, and some of the beginning the efforts toward the minimum teacher salary, heading into Blueprint implementation continues. Again, as I mentioned last time, no new positions are included in the budget at this time. A little more detail there on the areas. As we've mentioned, priorities were chosen in building the budget, some of the areas that were included, some that are not, continue. Excuse me, not sure what happened there. No changes there in those areas. Talked about this a bit in the past. Fund balance, final audited for fiscal year 23, right about in the mid-range of our target for fund balance, and only a little bit identified at this point, about $800,000 identified in the current year budget. We'll look more at that as we move into later stages of developing the budget, some of those areas that we could look at budgeting some fund balance into fiscal year 25. So as I mentioned, the governor's budget has been released, so we're past that step. The proposed operating budget book has been put online and shared with the county, and is also posted at the public libraries for the public to view. We will be bringing the budget back before the board for consideration at the February board meeting. And then, of course, the county will work through their budget process. Right now, we have on our calendar a tentative budget work session to begin to reconcile the budget and finalize the budget in the first week of May. The board's meeting in May is May 8th. We could come to adoption there, or if we need to adjust or consider any significant items, we can adjust the calendar and hold additional sessions or push back adoption as needed. So some flexibility there. Those are just kind of on the calendar for now. With that, consider any questions that we have, or we can hold those for the work session.
We'll hold those for the work session. One quick item for the calendar of events, not a Board of Ed meeting or event, but I think you shared with me the county government has released their budget timeline, and the public hearing they typically hold is May 6th, I believe, at 7:00 p.m. at the Carroll Arts Center. For those who follow the budget cycle on a whole as a county, that's an important date to note. So with that, we'll have you join us, Mr. Burke, and I guess Ms. Bowers will shift to the public comment timer. And we have two speakers. The first speaker signed up is Murray Dupin.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Murray Dupin. I am a former Carroll County Public Schools parent. I am a current candidate for the Board of Education, and I am a longtime education advocate. I went back and counted, and I have spoken at 5 county budget hearings, as Mr. O'Neill mentioned those. Tonight, I wanted to address a couple of questions I have. I know you can't answer them tonight. Information that I think it would be helpful to share with the community after tonight to help the community be more fully informed and potentially advocating on behalf of your budget request, as I intend to do. I was glad to see some of the information in the starter pages of the budget talking about some of the things from the old Beacon study, which I have a copy of here from several years ago, talking about how for every dollar spent in operational spending, that's $1.44 that goes into the local economy. And for every dollar of capital spending, it's $1.55. And I think that it's important to hearken back to that to make the argument about why school spending is more important than just paying our educators better, although that's a hugely important reason to advocate for this request in this cycle. I am interested to know if there have been any other studies done, any more current data, any more recent information on that. That is almost 10 years old now, so I don't know if there's any more that you could point me to, but I'm curious about that. I also was noting the per pupil spending, and in the $14,000 range, and I don't think that's changed a lot over the years. I'd be very interested to see the historical information on that spelled out. I can certainly do my own homework as well. And then a couple of other things related to that. I wanted to call attention to Prior to the county commissioner public hearing, I think it would be helpful to share with the general public the road show that Ted Zaleski does at the libraries throughout the county in April. It's a great opportunity to go hear more about the budget, to be able to ask questions. I'm hoping that you all have representation at all of those too, so that you can answer education-specific questions that members of the public might have. Those dates run from April 24th through May 1st, and they're a really tremendous opportunity to be engaged early and potentially even be engaged often. I do want to just say that I wholeheartedly support the proposed budget. I do hope that you all provide full-throated support in advocating for it with the commissioners and the community, because I think it does a lot to address some long-standing underpayment of staff and even just sort of austerity budget conditions that you all have dealt with for so long. So thank you so much for everything that you do for our students, and thank you for letting me speak this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Dupin. Our second and final speaker is Ms. Celeste Jordan.
Good evening, Superintendent McCabe, members of the board, and Commissioner. I'm Celeste Jordan, President of CCEA. I am in support of the superintendent's proposed budget. CCA appreciates the hard work of Dr. McCabe and her staff in developing this budget. We understand the difficult decisions which had to be made in order to make this budget work. These are not easy times. However, with collaboration, I think Carroll County Schools could continue to be a leader in education in the state of Maryland. I can tell you that the Career Ladder Work Group collaboration has been some of the best professional work I have participated in my career. It gives me hope that we might be able to implement a career ladder that will make Carroll a more attractive place for educators to work. While I don't enjoy being the bearer of doom and fear, our members need a lifeline right now, and this very well could be it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. I was expecting you to use the full 3 minutes, and I'm caught off guard. Just teasing. With Ms. Jordan being our final speaker, that effectively closes the hearing. We'll now just take a couple of minutes to reorganize our seating and have the board members and Commissioner Rothstein come to the table, and then we'll start the work session.
The biggest news for new news for this work session is that we do have clear numbers for our state aid for next year, and it is within the ballpark of what we were anticipating, within $100,000. At this point, at the February 14th board meeting, the board will vote on the approval of this budget, and then it will go to the commissioners to determine the extent to which they can fund the budget. So tonight is really a great opportunity to go through and ask any questions that may be lingering after the presentations and work sessions and discussions that we've had regarding this budget proposal. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. O'Neill.
Okay, thank you, Dr. McCabe. Just to touch back on that one point about state revenue, I wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to commend Mr. Burke, and this is Mr. Sexton, our supervisor of budget for the school system, and the state, frankly, for allowing all of us, all 24 LEAs or local school systems, access to their formula in a way that you can, we've never been able to sort of try to apply the formula in advance. They don't, if you will, they don't allow you historically to have the spreadsheet with the cells active, and this was the first year they did that, and that was very helpful as we're moving into this era of Blueprint. And so I want to give them a lot of credit. But I also want to, I just want to suggest that, you know, this is the first year and there are many variables, and so I don't want anyone to believe that we'll always be within $100,000 of estimating state aid, but we think we will be much more accurate over time than in the past. I'd also say that you would note that we did not change the overall revenue figure from the initial budget. When the governor releases his budget and DLS and other agencies analyze it and give us information, that's extremely helpful. It clarifies a lot, but at the same time, the state budget's not concluded until the General Assembly concludes in April. And so, you know, being within $100,000, the budget document's still built around the $9.8 million, and we'll see what happens in the General Assembly. And then in addition to any questions that we can answer or Superintendent McCabe can answer this evening, if there, I know you don't vote at a work session, but if there are any things that the board as a whole would sort of through consensus ask the superintendent to change or modify in the budget, knowing that tonight allows us a good chance at having time to do that by your February 14th board meeting, or even if there are individual items that that an individual board member would like us to bring information on to your February 14 meeting, knowing that tonight is very helpful to have some time to work on being able to provide you that on the 14th. And with that, we'll just pause for your discussion, your questions, your thoughts and input. Thank you.
Would you just like to go around and make a statement, each of us?
Sure.
Mr. Whistler, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, again, I appreciate the work of staff. It's a monumental task, and having run a business of my own, I just know what goes into it. So I appreciate the level of effort that you put into it. For the public, we've had so much discussion on the budget, and we are working so aggressively with staff to try to make the budget as lean as possible. I mean, I have no further questions or need no more information than what I've already seen. I really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Dr. Dorsey?
Well, I certainly also appreciate the efforts of the staff to come up with the budget as it looks now. And again, I am certainly in support of the budget. I, over the years, have seen that, you know, we've had to make cuts, and we haven't always, you know, gotten everything that we've wanted, but I think we've certainly tried to prioritize and meet the more, I guess, urgent needs that we feel the system has. So I thank everyone for working on this and for putting it together. And, you know, I guess when we first started talking about Blueprint, again, it just seems to have so much promise, you know, with what it's based on, so to speak. But in reality, when we try to put all the pieces together, we know that it's certainly been very challenging for us with trying to meet everything that's being required. But again, I think we sort of led the state with coming up with some of the questions and concerns that we've had over the year. And I think others are dealing with the same kind of situations now that we've dealt with in the past. But again, just a long and short of saying that I think you all have done a nice job with also incorporating the demands of Blueprint in our budget. And, you know, we'll just move forward and support it, and hopefully we can get community support as well as we move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Dorsey. Ms. Battaglia?
Just like everyone else is saying, you know, I thank everyone, you know, that has and is and still continues to work with the budget and getting everything together, meeting the needs of the systems for, you know, of the system for our students and for our staff. You know, yes, we have a book of all wonderful things we would want, you know, but we also know that we need to work with what we have, and, you know, we do have to work with the blueprint and what is allowed to us. So I'm just very appreciative of everyone's work, and I'm very supportive of the budget.
Thank you. Ms. Sudakar?
I would have to echo the same feelings. This is some of the first times I'm looking at how the budget is implemented and how things work around here. And everything is sort of coming together, and you guys very clearly put a lot of effort into making sure this is simple for the public to understand and even simple for students to understand. Because a lot of the times, students don't directly see the impact of the way that the budget works. They see what they want more than what is, you know, given. And this will definitely help sort of clear how the stages of this operational subject is done. So thank you.
All right, I have, Mr. Rothstein, would you like to say something?
Sure. And,
And thank you for being here tonight, appreciate it.
There's no place I'd rather be. To dovetail from the student, a comment that was made to me a long time ago that reflected the work I did was that Ed had the innate ability to take complex problems and come up with simple solutions. At first, I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, and then I realized, no, that's a really good thing. And so exactly what you're sharing, this is a very complex problem that that's facing us. As county commissioner and board of county commissioners, I do not believe that we have the, I don't want to say privilege or right to question the requirements that are levied on you. It doesn't mean that we also can't say, okay, what are the requirements that are being willing to be funded for now, because everything's about resources. And we're going to get into that because we have a long ways to go. The money that's in operational funds right now is still above the MOE, and we know that, in addition to the 10.8. And if you look at the operational budget right now, we're at about almost a $7 million deficit going into FY25. That's the reality. So with that reality, in front of us, we have to come to grips with it. So I look forward to the conversation. I do echo what was shared, the work that was done. I expect nothing less than the good work that's been done. But I think we have a ways to go in the next few months. So, but thank you for the
No,
opportunity.
thank you. I will finish up. First of all, Mr. O'Neill, I cannot thank you and your group and the CCEA for working with us hand in hand, trying to work on two things. Number one, we all have to come up to the $60,000 for a new teacher. Number two, people don't realize that we have to have a career ladder completed by July 1st. They are two big, overwhelming burdens that we accomplished. And I cannot thank you all enough for working. I've heard nothing but positive outcomes of that group that worked with you and Celeste. And I thank you all for that because it was a tough feat. And strategically, this was the right decision to pass this FY 2025 budget. I appreciate the focus from Dr. McCabe, where salaries are very important and comply with the blueprint. Everyone must realize it's a law now. We must comply with that. Therefore, our priority will now be to hire and retain the best qualified teachers to continue our academic endeavors, because we have not been able to do that in the last couple years. And and I definitely want to continue to be a leader in the state. And I thank you all. I thank you in the back for coming. And I thank all of you for working as a group. This has been a very positive, hardworking group and I've been here, this is my 8th year, and hats off to all of you. So, Dr. McCabe.
Thank you. I would just reiterate what everyone has said, in that this is a tough budget season. It's a tough season for us to prioritize all of our organization's needs, as well as the mandates of the blueprint. It is difficult for us to, it's difficult sometimes for us to put large numbers like this out there, because we know that the commissioners have a lot on their plates. We know that they're facing a deficit. And so I just appreciate the partnership with the commissioners in looking at the problems that we face and working with us to try to find solutions for those. I think we are in a great place as a county and a school district, in a much better place than many others are right now, just because of the positive partnership that we have between the Board of Ed and the Board of
Absolutely.
Commissioners.
Yes.
So I just want to reiterate that and thank you again. Any other comments?
I guess that concludes our budget workshop. And again, thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you, Commissioner, for being
Absolutely.
here. And as always, we will continue to work together. That's how it has to be. Have a good
Sounds good.
evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.